Hey guys, so if you hear music, there's a bit of a barbecue outside situation at my new place and I tried to close the windows. Please don't copyright me. Today we're doing finally I'm filming this video and posting it because it's just been, I've been so busy moving house. As you can see, I've moved, so I didn't really have much time to read, and when I do, it's audiobook. They weren't part of this challenge that I was doing. I'm basically reading Override, like Overhyped, mainly from TikTok, but booktok as well. Mainly romance, but contemporary, a bit of mystery I love as well, books. So I've read 5, that was my plan. And I'm gonna probably do it in increments of 5 every time I do it. So give me any more like overhyped books. Like you either read them and you were disappointed, you read them and you like them, or you haven't read them and you wanna know my opinion. All of that, let me know. Any overhyped books. So I have 4 physically and then 1 I read as an audiobook. And actually it's part of a different challenge I'm doing as well that I'll get into when I get to the book. So we have Beatride. I absolutely love this book. It is so good. So these are all going to be spoiler free, and if there is anything spoilery, I'll put that on the screen. Love this book. So we have January and Gus. They actually knew each other at uni and they end up at the same like summer house town after things have gone wrong in both their lives, and they're now like low-key broke. They're both authors and they desperately need to sell another book. He writes more like sci-fi kind of like books and she writes romance, but very like always ends well, like a happy ending romance, and she hasn't been very successful in her love life and things have gone really pretty badly in her life. So I guess the books are kind of like an escape for her essentially, but she can't think of another one because of how things have gone in her life essentially, and they end up swapping. So she needs to write a sci-fi book, he needs to write a romance book, and obviously as you can see, like they're going to be forced to hang out and like explain the genres to each other, and it is so good, so very good. I love it. Yeah, just the fact that they like already met in the past and they met again as adults is really very fun. I love this one. This one is not overhyped at all. I really like this one, and I love Emily Henry. She's one of my new favorite authors. I'm already planning on reading You and Me on Vacation is what it's called, or People With Me on Vacation, depending on if you're in the UK or in the US. It's called a different thing. Yeah, if you have any more Emily Henry books that you like, let me know. Oh, there's Book Lovers, right, which I have on my iPad as an ebook, so I'll be reading that as well. If there's anything else kind of in this like style, let me know, because I really like her style of writing, and I like her characters, and I like the settings, and I like the plot, and I like everything that she does with her books. I think it's not overdone, but it's like just like perfect. Then we have the Unhoneymooners, which was a book that was like so highly praised and just like hyped up, and I don't personally think that it lived up to the expectations, sorry to say it. The honeymoon of a lifetime with her sworn enemy. What does the back say? So there's Olive, who is one of 2 twins. So Olive is always unlucky. Her identical twin sister Amy, on the other hand, is probably the luckiest person in the world. So there's like this plot of like her being super unlucky, clumsy, etc, etc, and then her sister just like winning everything, and essentially her sister won everything for her wedding, including the honeymoon, which was supposed to be in Hawaii. And this isn't a spoiler, it's literally in the first like 20 pages. They're at the wedding and everyone gets ill except for Olive and what's his name? Ethan. I didn't really like Ethan, so I forgot his name. Ethan, because Ethan is scared to eat from buffets, so he didn't eat the buffet and he didn't get ill, and Olive didn't get ill either. So they actually end up being forced to go on the holiday because obviously Olive and Amy are twins, so they can just do a bit of identity fraud and go. And they go and they're forced to hang out, which was like my favorite part of the book. I really liked the book up to probably about like here. I'm gonna just guesstimate, probably here. Let me see the page. Oh yeah, about here. Literally, I'm at the bit where it gets really frustrating. I can't believe I just like managed to somehow do that. Basically, Ethan has a brother, and the brother is Amy's new husband, right? So Olive and Amy are twins. Ethan is Olive's enemy, and then Amy is dating Ethan's brother Dane, and now it's Amy and Dane's wedding, and Dane is a dickhead. So that happens, and there's just more drama to do with that. But also I didn't really pay attention to it at the start of the book because I was like, maybe it'll just get better, it's fine. But their reason for being sworn enemies is one, miscommunication, which is one of my least favorite tropes in just any book ever. I think miscommunication is just so like, this could have been resolved 2 seconds ago. And it's because, this isn't really a spoiler, so the reason why they hate each other is They met for the first time, and they met at a fair, and she's a curvier woman, and she ended up going to get cheese, and when she came back with the cheese, it was like a cheese dish. He gave her like a dirty look, and she assumed it was because she was curvier and that that's not what he was into, and the fact that she was like eating well, and you know, the whole thing. I understand that in that situation she doesn't have to question why he's doing that. Like, clearly if she thought he was shaming her for eating food, it's ridiculous, you know, she doesn't have to acknowledge that. But I just feel like the miscommunication is so odd, and it could have been resolved so much quicker. I don't know, it's just, I don't even think it would be her responsibility as a character to go up to him and clear it up and be like, are you fat shaming me? Like, I don't think that's up to her to do. If that happened in everyday life, of course you can be like like that can be off-putting to her, of course, someone shaming her for eating cheese. But I feel like that as a plot in the book is just not, I just didn't think it was a strong enough plot point to be the basis of the whole enemies to lovers. Like, I didn't think it was a strong enough, like, it didn't make sense. It just wasn't like really built upon, it wasn't developed. Like, I think that bit of the plot just wasn't really that well developed, and it had so many like holes in it where it just didn't really make sense. I don't know, it just didn't really make sense as a plot. If it was maybe more developed and he had done like a few other things, then it would have made sense. But at that point, if he was actually fat shaming her, then enemies to lovers would be awful. So like, I just feel like that plot in itself just didn't really make sense. So the book started on a pretty bad note, and then it ended on an awful note. I actually do not ship Olive and Ethan at all. At all. Like, I got to the end of the book and I was like, I do not want you guys to be together. Because there was a plot twist in there. Literally, I opened on the bit, and I do not ship Olive and Ethan at all. I don't think they go well together. Even during the honeymoon, like, I thought the scenes were really cute, but when you thought about it, I don't know, there was just something missing, like maybe a bit of a spark. I'm not really sure. Then it got to the end of the book and I was like, I don't like Ethan. I don't like his brother. I actually don't even like Amy. I think Amy towards the end of the book got really ridiculous. And so it started off on a miscommunication trope, which if it was any more developed, it would mean that he's a fat shaming pig and doesn't deserve to go from enemies to lovers. And then because she didn't, obviously Christina Lauren didn't want to make him actually be a fat shamer, so then the plot wasn't really that developed. So then it just turned into like this weird miscommunication. So like, either way, it just didn't work. I feel like it would have worked way better for us, like a different reason to be enemies. And then towards the end, he was not that great. And then like things got resolved in like a week, and I was like, okay, no, that's not for me, actually. Punk 57, which was all over TikTok and all over booktok as well. I love how satisfying this book is. It is like a big book, and I love these ones. I love this shape. I love this size of book. I don't know if that's like a oddly specific thing to really enjoy, but I love this size of book. So good. Anyway, so I don't know how to explain this without spoiling much of it, but essentially they're pen pals, and one of them stops talking to the other one, and then we get a new guy coming to Ryan's school and immediately hating her, like immediately being really like off with her. And there's also this person vandalizing the school at night, and no one can figure out who it is, and there's just like a lot of plot twists. So essentially one of the plot twists is, who is this new guy and why does he hate Ryan? Second plot twist, I guess, is like why Misha stopped talking to Ryan through pen pals. So you kind of get this whole point of view of Ryan like being like, why did he stop talking to me? And then third like plot twist towards the end is obviously who the vandal is. I thought it was really good. I thought the book was good. It's very smutty, which is good, but they are in high school. So I, as a 22-year-old, felt a little bit uncomfortable sometimes when I remembered that they were in high school. I wish they were in college. I wished, obviously, people are allowed to write books for high schoolers. I'm not saying like this is not allowed, why is this happening? Obviously, for me, for my personal self, would have preferred if this book was written in college, but I can just use my imagination and pretend that it's written based on based on college students, not high school students. But obviously this doesn't have to be about college students. I'm not selfish. It was very angsty and very like almost Tumblr, Wattpad, 2014, 13 era. So once again, I felt a little bit old reading it sometimes. So in that sense, to me, it was overrated, but I don't think it was a bad book. I think it was a very enjoyable, easy read. Like, I got through it very quickly. It was very like fast-paced. It was going. I do just think it was very angsty, and because it was set in high school, this was clearly aimed at a much younger audience than me, and like the introduction to, I guess, like smut and romance. I would have loved this when I was like 15, but overall I liked it. The plot twists were good. I thought it was developed. I liked the characters. The whole thing was really good. I just think it was like a tad bit overrated, but not much. So then we have The Hating Game, which was heavily recommended on BookTok and on BookTube, which is typical like enemies to lovers. The Hating Game, you can literally, you know, you just know it's going to be enemies to lovers. However, I don't actually think they were enemies, and they kind of stopped being enemies pretty quickly. So it wasn't like a slow burn, but the romance was a slow burn, but the like not being enemies wasn't. It kind of like felt like they weren't really enemies in the first place. Does that make sense? Like I wouldn't constitute them enemies. But there's basically Lucy, who's an assistant and professional nice girl, is in a waging war. She's got the whole office on her side except for tall, dark and charmless Joshua Templeman. He's been nothing but hostile since the moment they met, and now it feels like nothing matters as much as taking him down. They basically are in the same workplace. She's in like a book publishing company, and he's doing, I believe, tech or finance, one of those, and they basically join the companies together and they sit at the same desk and they have the same role, but like because obviously they merged, so they had the same role at the two different companies, and now they have the same role in this like merged company and share a desk, and they're like always like mean to each other and like joking around. But I don't think they're enemies. We were never really given a reason for why they're enemies, other than she came in and was like too attractive and too nice and he didn't like that. But they're not actually enemies. They just like to bicker a lot. So to call it The Hating Game and make this whole like nemesis and like definition of nemesis, a long-standing rival, an arch enemy, a person's undoing, Joshua Templeman, like I don't think they were enemies. And I liked reading this book. I really enjoyed like the process of reading it, but then I got to the end and I realized how almost lukewarm this book was, because they didn't hate each other. They weren't enemies. So when they became lovers, it wasn't really enemies to lovers. It was just like bickering married couple to lovers. I'm being so negative today. I just feel like there could have been ways to make this better. The only thing really that made them enemies was the fact that they were going after the same huge promotion. So it was the same one spot that both of them were going for, and that was really the only thing. And then I got to the end of the book and I felt like they went from enemies to friends pretty quickly, and then from friends to lovers. It took ages, and then it was literally like the last couple of pages where he was like saying everything and like talking about like there was plot twists and the whole thing, and I just felt like everything was crammed into like the last like chapter, and I just hate when that happens. I need some time to digest what's going on at the end of the book, and they just didn't give me that. So when I finished the book, I felt so unsatisfied because I felt like everything was crammed and rushed, and I don't know. I think that's just me. Let me know what you guys think about this one. I think I would give this one like a 3 now. I don't really give ratings. 3. Let me see. 2. 3. 4.5. 3.5, 4? Right? So put them in this order. So I'd say 2, maybe 2.5. Because I enjoyed a bunch of the book before it got a bit, you know? So 2.5 maybe, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. Very good book. And the last one I listened to as an audiobook, and it's November 9th by Colleen Hoover. And I'm actually doing a whole Colleen Hoover just a video where I essentially want to read every single Colleen Hoover book and let you guys know what I think about all of them. It's going to be a long challenge, so I'll be slipping in different challenges like the Colleen Hoover books that I've read so far, and then I'm going to compile it all into one video for you guys. If you want a Colleen Hoover like starter pack, it'll be there, and I can do like a rankings video etc for Colleen Hoover because she is so huge on TikTok right now. But I read November 9th as my first Colleen Hoover book, and then recently I read Verity as well, which is not romance, it's mystery thriller, but really love that one. Spoiler alert, really love that one, but it's not romance, it's not an overrated romance. But November 9th, it was pretty good. I read it as an audiobook, so obviously it's a bit of a different experience than reading it physically. There was a plot twist in there, like with every Colleen Hoover book. I didn't really expect it, I didn't really see it coming, but looking back on it now, it was pretty obvious. It was not too serious though. I feel like Colleen Hoover can make quite serious and like hard hitting books, and like books are quite heavy to read. This one wasn't too bad, it was like pretty alright. Now what I did find out recently, I watched someone's video, I can't remember whose it was, but apparently there was a first version of the book that was really problematic, and then Colleen Hoover basically changed it and re-released it again as a less problematic book. Now I haven't read the initial launch, so you know if you have and what was there, because I couldn't really find it. So as it stands now, this version, it was pretty good, it was quite enjoyable. There were a lot of plot twists, a lot of like angst, etc. I would probably give it like a 3.5. I'm being very like harsh today. Probably give it like a 3.5. So all of these were like pretty good reads. I just don't think, because they've been so overhyped, you're always going to have that bit of like disappointment because of how overhyped it was. But that's my opinion, so let me know what you guys think. Subscribe, hit that bell icon for engagement, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.